Hello, my name is Peter Verhas, and in this video I will talk about Jamal, which is a text macro processor. This video is about Jamal, and it's about the features and what you can use it for, and it gives you a big overview about it. It's not a sales pitch, it's just a very short, brief introduction, and then in the next videos that I'm going to prepare, we will go very deeply into the details so that you can use it to its full extent. First of all, Jamal is a command line tool. You can start it using a shell script or using the JBank, but it also works as a Maven plugin or as a Javadoc doclet, and it's also a library. You can use it using the Java API with this dependency. It's displayed as a Maven dependency. And Jamal is not only a text processor and converts text from one thing to another, but it can be extended. So it has modules. It can include Ruby script, Groovy script, Basic, JShell script if you use these modules. You can embed plenty UML diagrams and it's automatically generated. It supports any format generally, but there is a practice with Markdown, WordPress, Javadoc, ASCII-Doc format, but you can use with anything that is text formatted. And some of the modules can collect snippets and extract the data from YAML format, XML file, text files, and this data or the snippets can be inserted into the output. And if you want, you can even format or transform these snippets. And if you want, you can not just generate text output, but you can generate YAML formatted or XML formatted output. So you can use it as a kind of textual preprocessor for YAML files and for XML files. And YAML is used in Doclet for Javadoc, and it also brings, with a very simple extension, Markdown into the Javadoc. So if you are using Jamal Doclet, then you don't need to use an extra Markdown Doclet, or you can use them together. You don't need to choose one or the other. And the extension that brings Markdown into the Java doclet is just that small. I will talk about that in a very short video sometime. It's also used in the Java GSI framework to generate code as code templates. It's used in Jamal ADT, which is a JUnit test data source extension. But the basic core thing of Jamal is, of course, that it's a macro language, so it has user-defined macros, which are very, very simple to use. You just write define, name, value, and things like that. But since you can define macros inside macros, and also some macros can be defined when other macros are evaluated, they can go fairly complex sometimes. There is pre and post evaluation of these macros, and you can even have recursive macro definition. So to ease the use, there is a macro debugger, and the complex transformations can be traced into an XML file, but this is an old feature, you may not want to use it. Instead, right now there is a debugger which you can attach to using a web browser, and there is a web-based graphical debugger based on React framework. So summary, and make it very short because you are interested in the technical details. Jamal is a macro language, text-based, supports every text format. It has scripting extensions. It works as a Maven plugin, Javadoc, command line, debugger. There are many extensions for it with many practical use. And in the videos, I will talk about how you start it on the command line first, because, well, if we want to play with it, we have to start it. Then I will talk about how we can use the debugger, mainly because the debugger gives an interactive environment where it's very easy to play around with these macros. You just type in the things there, you press evaluate, and then you get immediately the result. For very simple things, you can use the debugger web interface to play around with. And then we will get into a little bit more detail how to use the core macros which come off the shelf with Jamal. We will also talk about how to write macros. Yes, in macros, user-defined macros, but also I will talk about how you can write macros in Java. And it's very, very simple. You just have to implement an interface which has one method, evaluate, that gets an input, and then you calculate, emit the output, and that's it. Very, very simple. And how you can embed it into some application, how you can extend it with macros.